Welcome to part 2 of my animation of the rocket. Part 2, we're going to be adding texture to the rocket, and we're going to be adding texture to our sky, our background. To get started, go ahead and right click the rocket. We're going to go to the shading button, okay, or you can press F5, and we're going to click add new, and that's a little zoomed out, okay. And then go to the texture button right here, and under texture you're going to click add new, and under texture type you're going to select image, and then over where it says image, click on the gray box next to load. Click on load, and I have some images for you. If you go to the 506, go to the Blender folder, and then Blender textures. There's a bunch of different textures in here that you can use. And since you can't see any of them, just go to the 506, go to My Computer, go to the 506, Blender folder, Blender textures. And if you click on thumbnails, you can see all the different ones that we have in there. If you're not in my class, you can find different Blender textures. Just Google Blender textures and a bunch will come up, and you can save them to your computer. There's a bunch of different good ones for the rocket. Pick any one you'd like. Doesn't matter. I just want to know that you know how to add in a texture. For this, I'm going to select the boilerplate. It's like a gray color. So I'm going to select it. Once you have your image selected, click Select Image, and you'll see that it'll preview it down here. To see how it looks with your rocket, you can go and you can select Textured for your draw type, and then that'll show it. You can also render your scene out by hitting F12. That'll show you through the camera view, so we can see it. It's textured out. Okay, so I'm just going to close out of that. Once you have that, we're going to be adding in our plane. Okay, so we have our camera here. We're going to add in the plane back this way behind the rocket because it's going to be our sky. So you want your cursor to be on your rocket. If it's not, select your rocket and do Shift S and cursor to selection. And then go to Add Mesh and Plane. And we're going to add
Time interruption. There's a white Mazda Protege. You left your driver's side door open. Will the owner of a white Mazda Protege, you left your driver's side door open.
So we're going to take the plane and we're going to move it behind it. And remember, we've got our transform properties. If you don't have that, press N on your keyboard and that'll pop up. I'm going to go into the rotate manipulator, and I'm going to use these to prop the plane up behind our rocket. Let's see, that didn't work too well. 90 for the y-axis, and that should straighten it up. And then I'm going to put the z-axis at 0. Okay, so I can rotate that. And then you just want to scale it. Hit S and scale it. And if you notice, it looks backwards basically, like you don't see anything. So you have to flip it around so we can see it. It's only going to show you one side. Okay, so we have that, and we can always scale the size of it later. Right now we're just working on getting the texture set up correctly. So get your plane scaled up behind the rocket. So if you go into camera view, and we'll adjust it, but basically you want to, we'll have the camera, then the rocket, and then the plane. We'll adjust it later. Okay, so to set it up, make sure your plane is selected. We're going to click on both the shading buttons. So click here, or you can press F5, and then click here on the materials button. And we're going to select Add New. And we're going to click the shadeless button. Okay, it makes the material insensitive to light or shadows, so we won't see any shadows. And then on the right, over here where it says texture, we're going to click on add new. And then we're going to select the tab that says map to. And here's the color for our sky. So we're going to change red. Red's going to be at 0, green's going to be at 0, and then blue will be all the way up because we want a blue sky. Next, go to the texture button. So right here, we're going to click on the texture button. Under texture type, they have a type called clouds. So we're going to select clouds. And as we do that, we can see this here. And there's two properties that'll let you adjust the way the clouds look. So under noise size, we're going to put it at 0.15, and you can see that it'll change in the preview here. And under noise depth, we'll change it to 6. And you guys feel free to alter these. So once you have that set up, hit F12, and as you can see, we have the beginnings of our cloud and we have our rocket here. So we've set up the texture on the rocket and we've set up the texture on the plane. In part 3, I'm going to show you how to animate the texture so the clouds look like they're moving. So go ahead, and this is a good time to go to File and Save, and then click on your link and save your work.